Welcome to the deep dive.
We are so glad you're here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are tuning in today, I actually already know a few things about you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not someone who needs a lecture on what a calendar is.
Right, or how to write a basic to-do list.
Exactly. You are likely juggling a highly demanding career, maybe some complex personal projects, and just a seemingly endless stream of inputs.
Responsibilities, notifications, all of it.
All of it. You are that curious, driven learner who wants to operate at the absolute highest possible level.
Yeah, but let's be completely honest for a second here.
Please.
Even with all the apps, the planners, the life hacks you've tried,
Oh, yeah.
there are days, maybe most days, honestly, where trying to manage it all just leaves you feeling completely fundamentally drained.
Okay, let's unpack this, because today's mission is massive.
It really is.
We have pulled together an enormous stack of productivity playbooks. We've synthesized advanced strategy outputs from all the leading AI models, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, DeepSeek.
And we've cross-referenced all of that with some incredibly dense, peer-reviewed expert articles.
Right. And the core focus of all this research.
It's a head-to-head, really deep-level analysis of the nuances between time boxing and time blocking.
Which sound the same, but aren't.
Not at all.
But we aren't here to give you a 101 level tutorial on this.
No, we're going way past that.
Our ultimate goal today is to rescue you from that exhausting, high-stakes game of what our sources call calendar Tetris.
Yes, calendar Tetris.
And to help you build a deliberate, resilient, cognitive architecture.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the visual metaphor of calendar Tetris is probably the most accurate diagnosis of the modern knowledge worker's daily reality.
It's a great metaphor.
Just imagine that old school video game screen.
Mm-hmm.
You have blocks of varying shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And these are your meetings, your urgent emails, your sudden project pivots.
The stuff that just pops up.
Exactly. And they are dropping from the top of the screen relentlessly.
Faster and faster.
They're falling faster and faster. And what are you doing? You are scrambling.
Panic mode.
You're trying to rotate them, slam them into the bottom, desperately hoping to clear a line
Right.
just to survive to the next level of the day.
You get to 5 p.m.
Right. But here's the critical shift we need to make today.
Okay.
Imagine that frantic, anxiety-inducing screen fading away entirely.
I'm picturing it.
Good. In its place, I want you to picture a calm, static, highly organized architectural blueprint.
Wow. Okay.
That is the visual representation of the shift we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It is the transition from a mind that is constantly neurochemically reacting to emergencies.
To a mind that's operating within a beautifully designed, intentional structure.
Precisely.
I love that blueprint analogy because, look, the stakes here are so incredibly high.
They are.
I think everyone listening has experienced this exact scenario. You get to the end of a Tuesday.
Oh, the classic Tuesday.
Your eyes are physically burning from screen time. You are completely exhausted. You look back at your day and realize you actually cleared your entire calendar.
You did it all.
You attended all 6 meetings. You answered 85 Slack messages. You technically did everything you were supposed to do. But when you look at your actual significant goals, the big strategy deck, the creative writing, that complex coding project, you made absolutely zero progress.
Okay.
It's a hollow, terrible feeling. You won the battle of the inbox, but you are losing the war of your career.
That's a powerful way to put it.
So this deep dive is going to provide you with the exact advanced tools to move out of that reactive posture.
We want to ensure you never feel that specific brand of overwhelming task paralysis again.
Exactly. So looking at the research, particularly the texts that focus on this Tetris effect, what is actually happening to our brains when we operate in this default scheduling mode?
Well, what's happening is a fundamentally flawed approach to how human beings process cognitive work.
Okay.
The Tetris metaphor perfectly captures the psychological toll of traditional scheduling because it highlights a purely reactive posture.
Reacting, not acting.
Right. When we just let tasks drop onto our plates and frantically slide them into whatever narrow gaps exist between our meetings.
We're treating time merely as an empty vessel.
Yes. We view our day as a container that just needs to be crammed full of activities until it is bursting at the seams.
Let's fill it up.
But the massive paradigm shift emphasized across all of our advanced sources is that we have to stop treating time as a container.
And start treating it as what?
We have to start treating our attention as our most valuable capital.
Attention, not time.
Exactly. Time is finite, obviously, But attention is incredibly fragile.
It really is.
And when you play calendar Tetris, you are spending your attention thoughtlessly, impulsively, just to make the blocks fit before the game over screen hits.
I hear that, but let me push back a little here
Sure.
because for a lot of people listening, their calendar isn't entirely their own.
That's fair.
If you're in middle management or you're a founder dealing with client emergencies, it feels like you have to play Tetris.
Mhm.
The blocks are falling whether you want them to or not. Are the sources suggesting we just ignore the falling blocks?
There's not at all. The sources absolutely acknowledge that external demands are a reality.
Okay, good.
But the difference is in how you structure the underlying foundation to receive those demands.
The blueprint.
Right. The texts present two distinct tactical weapons to fight this reactivity. And the problem is that even high-level professionals mix these two concepts up all the time.
They use the terms interchangeably.
Exactly. But they serve completely different psychological functions.
Yeah.
We are talking about time blocking versus time boxing.
Okay, let's break this down. Most of our listeners already know the basics of time blocking.
Sure.
Putting a 9 a.m. deep research block on your Google Calendar isn't exactly a revolutionary concept.
No, it's pretty standard.
But what the advanced playbooks in our stack point out is that most of us are doing it completely wrong.
Because we don't understand the underlying psychology.
Right. The materials describe time blocking as the ultimate antidote to distraction.
The antidote.
It's about creating a protected container.
Precisely. And the mindset behind time blocking is what matters here.
What is that mindset?
When you enter a properly structured time block, the psychological state you are adopting is simply, this is what I am doing now.
Just that one thing?
It completely removes the friction of deciding what to work on.
Yeah.
You aren't sitting at your desk wondering if you should be checking email.
Or returning a client call or starting that spreadsheet.
The architecture you built in advance has already made that decision for you.
You just execute.
It dedicates the space required to simply get started, which, for complex tasks, is often the highest hurdle.
The activation energy.
Exactly. According to the research, time blocking is best deployed for deep work, large-scale projects, and complex strategic thinking where you need to sink into a flow state.
Okay, so that's the container. That's time blocking. But then we have the counterpart, time boxing.
Yes,
And the source have called this the antidote to perfectionism.
this is a huge distinction.
I think this is where it gets really interesting for our audience because high achievers are notorious perfectionists.
Oh, absolutely.
Time boxing isn't just about setting aside the time. It's about weaponizing a strict, fixed limit.
A hard boundary.
It's saying, I have exactly 45 minutes to draft this proposal, and when the timer goes off, I absolutely stop.
Even if it feels incomplete.
Even if the formatting isn't perfect, I stop.
And the mindset shift there is totally different from blocking.
How so?
With boxing, the internal dialogue is, this is all the time this task gets, period.
It forces a hard stop.
It is designed specifically to curb that endless tweaking, the polishing of a presentation slide for an extra hour when it was already good enough for the client 30 minutes ago.
The diminishing returns.
Exactly. Time boxing leverages constraints to generate a healthy sense of urgency.
It's perfect for open-ended research, right?
Right.
Where you could easily fall down an internet rabbit hole for half the day.
Or for administrative work that just needs to be good enough. The box ensures that a task doesn't consume more of your day than its actual strategic value dictates.
I love that phrasing, ensuring a task doesn't exceed its strategic value.
It's crucial.
Because how many times have we spent 2 hours on an internal memo that only required a 15-minute effort?
Too many times.
But here's the brilliant part. We don't necessarily have to choose just one or the other.
Right.
When I was reviewing the strategy outputs from the models in our stack, they strongly recommend a hybrid approach. They suggest using time blocking to structure the macro level of your day, but applying time boxing within those blocks for the micro execution.
That hybrid method is where the cognitive architecture really starts to take shape. It's a beautifully layered system.
Walk us through an example of that.
For instance, you might create a massive 2-hour time block on your calendar labeled content creation.
Okay, that's the big block.
That is your macro container. It protects you from external distractions. Nobody can book a meeting over it.
But inside that protected block, you deploy time boxing to protect you from yourself.
Oh, I see.
You give yourself exactly 30 minutes to write the outline, then 60 minutes for the messy rough draft, and a strict 30 minutes to edit.
So you get the protected, distraction-free space of the block?
Combined with the relentless perfectionism-killing forward momentum of the box.
It's like having a fortress where nobody can bother you, but inside the fortress you have a drill sergeant keeping you on pace.
That's a perfect way to visualize it.
But to make that architecture actually stand up to the real world, we have to move into these strategic principles.
Of the foundational rules.
And the absolute foundation of this, which comes through incredibly loudly in the research, is guarding your biological prime time.
Yes.
This isn't just about managing hours, it's about energy alignment.
This is a critical evolution beyond standard time management.
Because the old way is flawed.
The basic industrial era premise of productivity is that all hours are created equal.
Right. That a Tuesday at 9 a.m. is the same as a Thursday at 4 p.m. We are taught that 1 hour of work at 9 a.m. yields the exact same output as 1 hour of work at 3 p.m.
But it doesn't.
The physiological data utterly destroys that assumption. You must audit your energy, not just your clock.
Energy map.
The science of energy mapping and chronobiology tells us that human cognitive capacity naturally ebbs and flows throughout the day based on our circadian rhythms.
Exactly. And while chronotypes vary, you have your extreme morning larks and your night owls, for the vast majority of the professional population, their natural energy peak, their absolute zenith of focus, willpower, and complex problem-solving ability occurs in the mid to late morning.
Usually between 9 a.m. and noon.
That window is your biological prime time.
And what the sources are screaming at us is that you must ruthlessly protect that window for your most cognitively demanding tasks.
The deep work.
If you need to write complex code, if you need to synthesize difficult research, it belongs in that peak window.
It makes so much sense.
Conversely, on the flip side of the energy curve, we have what the literature refers to as shallow work.
Is the busy work.
This encompasses answering routine emails, scheduling appointments, approving basic pull requests, or filing expense reports.
Stuff you can do in your sleep.
Right. That type of work requires very little cognitive load.
So where does it go?
Therefore, it must be relegated to your natural energy slumps, which for most people is that lethargic window between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m.
You simply do not need peak cognitive function to approve a travel expense.
Exactly.
I have to admit, I am so guilty of messing this up in the past.
You all are.
I'll look at my calendar, see a wide-open 9:30 a.m. slot, and think, perfect, I'll schedule that routine vendor check-in call then, just to get it out of the way.
Oh, that's dangerous.
But looking at the beyond the Tetris effect text, that is a massive strategic error.
It's a huge leak.
By scheduling a low-value routine meeting during my peak mid-morning energy window, I am essentially draining my most valuable cognitive battery on something that doesn't require it.
You're wasting the prime time.
Then, when 3 p.m. rolls around and the stakes are highest, say I actually need to sit down and write a crucial script, my battery is completely empty.
You've got nothing left.
I have nothing left in the tank for the work that actually moves the needle.
It is a profound misallocation of resources.
Yeah.
If attention is your capital, spending your peak morning energy on shallow work is the equivalent of buying a cup of coffee with a gold bar.
Oh, wow. I love that. Buying coffee with a gold bar.
It is wildly inefficient and ultimately bankrupts your productivity.
So we map the energy. We protect the prime time.
But here is the fascinating challenge.
What's that?
Even if you perfectly map your tasks to your natural energy levels, the architecture will still collapse if you don't account for a fundamental, deeply ingrained human flaw.
Oh, no. What flaw?
Planning fallacy.
Oh, the planning fallacy. This is where my own optimism constantly betrays me.
It gets the best of us.
Why are we so incredibly bad at estimating how long things take?
It's biology, really.
I feel like I've been doing my job for years, yet I still look at a project and say, yeah, I can knock that out in an hour, and 3 hours later, I'm barely halfway through.
It's a well-documented cognitive bias. The research data we pulled indicates that, on average, professionals consistently underestimate task duration by roughly 30 to 50%.
50%, that's massive.
This happens because when we visualize a future task, we imagine a frictionless scenario.
The perfect world.
We picture an environment where the internet is lightning fast, where we already have all the necessary files open, where no one interrupts us.
And where our own brains don't experience a moment of fatigue.
Exactly. We plan for the best-case scenario, which almost never occurs in reality.
So we are essentially planning our days based on a fantasy.
A total fantasy.
That explains so much of the chronic stress we feel. We are setting ourselves up to fail before the day even begins. But thankfully, the playbooks give us some very specific tactical fixes for this.
They do.
First is what one of the models refers to as the candor check, or the 1.5x multiplier.
I love the candor check.
It's almost painfully simple, but incredibly effective. If you have a complex task, especially something you haven't done dozens of times before, and your gut tells you it will take 2 hours,
Do yourself a favor and block out 3 hours on the calendar.
you have to actively build reality into the schedule.
And this is where the interplay between blocking and boxing becomes highly strategic.
How so?
Because the inverse rule applies when you are deploying time boxing.
Oh, right.
With a time box, you are trying to counteract Parkinson's law.
Right, Parkinson's law, everyone knows the concept, even if they don't know the name.
Exactly.
It's the psychological adage that work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
The classic college paper scenario.
Yes. If the professor gives you 3 months to write a term paper, it takes exactly 3 months of agonizing stress to write it.
But if you completely forget about it and realize it's due tomorrow,
You somehow manage to write the entire paper in an all-nighter. The constraint forces the output.
exactly. So when you are setting a time box for a task that is prone to perfectionism, you actually want to give yourself less time than you think you need.
Ah, so the opposite of the multiplier.
Right. If you give yourself 4 hours to write a basic internal memo, you will spend 4 hours agonizing over sentence structure and font choices.
Well, guilty.
But if you give yourself 45 minutes, you will aggressively synthesize the key points and get it done.
The tight, artificial constraint creates a healthy, productive friction.
It cuts through the noise and forces decision-making.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Okay.
The math of the hours doesn't matter if the intent isn't clear. The way we label these blocks on our calendar makes all the difference in the world.
Words matter.
We can't just slap a vague label on a Tuesday afternoon and expect a miracle of productivity.
No, you can't.
The expert articles emphasize a concept called outcome-based blocking.
This is a game changer.
If you create a 2-hour block on your calendar and you just title it marketing or work on project, you aren't giving your brain a directive.
You are giving it a vague suggestion.
A very vague suggestion.
And from a neurobehavioral standpoint, vague suggestions are an open invitation for procrastination.
Why is that?
When a block simply says marketing, the cognitive load required to initiate the task is immense.
Because you don't know where to start?
Exactly.
Huh.
You will spend the first 20 minutes of that block just trying to figure out what part of the marketing ecosystem you should actually be touching.
Should I look at analytics?
Or write copy.
Or check social feeds?
The ambiguity creates friction.
I've done exactly that. I'll sit down for a Project XYZ block, stare at my screen, organize my folders for 20 minutes.
Go get a coffee.
And by the time I actually decide what to do, the block is half over.
That is the exact trap. The label on the calendar must define the output.
Outcome-based.
You must know precisely what the definition of done is before the clock even starts ticking.
Give us an example of a good label versus a bad label.
A block titled Marketing is incredibly weak.
Yeah.
However, a block titled Draft 800 Words of the Q3 Marketing Strategy Intro is a highly specific, outcome-based mission.
There is zero ambiguity there.
It forces absolute decisiveness. When that block begins, there is zero ambiguity about what success looks like.
You know exactly what you're doing.
You have effectively removed the friction of getting started, which, as we discussed, is often the heaviest cognitive lift of any deep work session.
Okay, let's unpack this reality check because I can hear the listeners thinking it right now.
What are they thinking?
We've got our biological energy mapped perfectly.
Sure.
We've multiplied our time estimates by 1.5 to account for the planning fallacy.
Yeah.
We've created highly specific outcome-based missions for our blocks.
It sounds perfect.
It sounds like a beautiful utopian theory. But then, real life happens.
It always does.
You sit down to do your deep work and the phone rings. Or a coworker pings you on Slack with a quick question that instantly spirals into a department-wide crisis.
The inevitable interruptions.
Let's pivot into tactical execution and how we actually defend this focus. Because according to the data in our stack, there is a massive, invisible focus leak that is destroying our days.
Yes, the 23-minute focus leak.
This is terrifying.
This is where the hard empirical data becomes quite sobering for anyone who prides themselves on being a quote-unquote multitasker.
We all think we're good at it.
Context switching is not just a minor annoyance. It is a silent, heavy tax on your cognitive capital.
How heavy?
The research demonstrates that it takes the human brain an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus after a single, seemingly minor interruption.
I really want to hammer this home for everyone listening because this is the stat that changed my entire view of productivity.
It's profound.
Let's walk through a scenario. You are sitting there deep into drafting that Q3 strategy document. You're in the flow state, the ideas are connecting, and then a little notification pops up in the corner of your screen from a client.
Just a little ding.
You think, I'll just quickly tab over, read it, and tab back. It'll take 10 seconds. So you do it, you read the email, you realize it's not urgent, and you tab back to your strategy document.
Harmless, right?
You might think you only lost 10 seconds of work, but neurochemically, you didn't just lose 10 seconds. Your brain is now dragging an anchor.
A huge anchor.
It will take you 23 minutes to get back to the sheer depth of focus and cognitive connectivity you had before you looked away.
Your brain has to completely reload the context of the strategy document.
So if you translate this to an average workday, if you check your email or your Slack just 10 times a day while you are trying to do deep work,
You aren't just losing a few minutes here and there.
you are literally hemorrhaging hours of your absolute peak cognitive focus. You are operating at a fraction of your actual intelligence.
What's fascinating here is how the playbooks propose we solve this.
Because we have to solve it.
Because the solution requires a structural defense mechanism. It is called radical batching.
Radical batch.
To defend against the devastating tax of context switching, you must group similar mental modes together.
Mental modes.
For example, you must group all your administrative tasks, all your outgoing phone calls, or all your creative writing into dedicated separate blocks.
Don't mix them up.
Every single time you shift from an analytical task, like modeling data in a spreadsheet, to a highly social task, like leading a client pitch.
Your brain has to switch gears entirely.
It has to load an entirely different set of rules, emotional tones, and contexts. By radically batching your tasks, you eliminate the heavy mental load of constantly shifting cognitive gears.
I love that. You're keeping the brain in one specific gear for as long as possible.
Exactly.
And one of the strategy sources scales this concept up beautifully with something called day theming.
Day theming is brilliant.
This is especially brilliant for people who wear multiple hats, like startup founders, small business owners, or project leads.
People who are constantly pulled in different directions.
Right. Instead of just batching hours within a day, you batch the entire day.
Walk us through it.
For example, you could structure it so that Mondays are entirely for internal operations and team check-ins.
A whole day in one gear.
Tuesdays are strictly for sales, outward-facing client calls, and networking. Wednesdays are fiercely protected, reserved exclusively for deep work, coding, or product development.
And what's the psychological benefit there?
The magic of day theming is that when you wake up on a Wednesday, the immense mental load of deciding what to prioritize is entirely gone.
You don't have to weigh a sales call against a coding task.
Exactly. You just look at the theme.
Right.
It's Wednesday. It's a deep work day. Everything else is ignored until Thursday.
That level of macro batching is highly effective.
It really is.
But we must address the internal reality.
What do you mean?
Even on a beautifully themed Wednesday, even if you turn off every single notification, put your phone in airplane mode, and close your office door,
Yeah.
your own brain will still interrupt you.
Oh, man. Internal distractions.
Internal distractions are often more disruptive than external ones.
Oh, absolutely. It is the most relatable, frustrating scenario in the world.
We all do it.
You have successfully defended your block. You are 30 minutes into a deep, focused, distraction-free writing session. You are totally in the zone.
Peak flow state.
And suddenly, out of nowhere, your brain just screamed at you, I need to buy milk on the way home.
Or, oh no, I completely forgot to email Steve about the updated invoice.
It's agonizing. If you stop writing and open your email to message Steve, you instantly trigger that 23-minute focus leak we just talked about.
The block is ruined.
But if you try to just ignore the thought and keep writing, that open loop about Steve is going to loudly bounce around inside your head, completely distracting you from your deep work. You're trapped.
This is where the research offers a highly practical, surprisingly low-tech solution from the DeepSeek source.
A low-tech solution.
The parking lot technique.
Okay, tell us about the parking lot.
When you are operating inside a protected focus block, you must keep a physical notepad and a pen, not a digital app, but a physical piece of paper right next to your keyboard.
Old school.
Very. When that intrusive, panic-inducing thought about the milk or emailing Steve pops up, You write it down immediately on the physical paper.
And that works.
By externalizing the thought onto paper, you actively clear it from your working memory.
So your brain lets it go.
Exactly. Your brain registers that the task has been captured, it knows it won't be forgotten, and this neurological relief allows your cognitive resources to seamlessly return to the primary task without triggering the 23-minute reset.
That's incredible.
You simply leave the thought in the parking lot, and you process that entire list later during a purposefully batched administrative block.
It's such a simple analog physical act, but the psychological relief is instant. It really is. It's like telling your brain, I hear you, we will handle this, but not right now. Now, let's talk about the biggest failure mode of all. Because even with parking lots, radical batching, and energy mapping, things still go sideways.
They do.
The expert articles we analyzed warn heavily against creating what they call a brittle schedule.
A brittle schedule is a disaster waiting to happen.
If you are a high achiever, you probably know exactly what a brittle schedule looks like.
Oh, yeah?
It's a calendar that is packed solid back-to-back from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with absolutely zero gaps. When you design it on Sunday night, it looks like a masterpiece of hyper-productivity.
But an idealized brittle schedule collapses upon first contact with reality.
First contact.
If your calendar is a solid wall of color with zero margins, a single meeting running just 5 minutes late cascades into the next block and then the next until the entire architecture of the day is ruined by 10:30 a.m.
Just dominoes falling.
This causes immense stress, a feeling of failure, and what the sources refer to as calendar guilt.
Calendar guilt. That's real. So what's the fix?
The proven antidote to a brittle schedule is the 20% rule and the strategic, unapologetic use of buffer blocks.
Buffer blocks.
To maintain resilience, you should aim to leave roughly 20% of your workday entirely unblocked. You must intentionally command a chaos buffer.
A chaos buffer. That is such a great term. You are literally intentionally scheduling space for reality to happen.
Exactly.
One of the models specifically suggests inserting 10 to 15-minute gaps between all your major tasks.
Essential transition space.
And to be clear, these aren't just lazy breaks so you can scroll through social media. They are critical transition spaces. You physically need time to get water, use the restroom, let your eyes rest, and most importantly, absorb the unexpected sagas of professional life. The urgent phone call from your kid's school, the software update that forces your computer to restart, or the boss who physically walks up to your desk and needs something real quick.
The friction of daily life.
As one of the texts brilliantly states, slack in a system is not wasted time. It is friction reduction.
That's a profound point.
If you don't engineer slack into your day, the friction will inevitably grind your productivity to a halt.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, incorporating buffers and parking lots fundamentally changes how you interact with your calendar.
It changes the whole relationship.
But the core philosophy must remain rigid. These blocks, you said, are not mere suggestions.
They aren't just ideas.
They are not wishful thinking. They must be treated as formal contracts.
Contracts.
When a specific time block starts, that assigned task is the only thing that exists in your professional universe.
Yeah.
You have to embody a level of ruthless discipline to protect that boundary.
Exactly. You have to treat your own time blocks with the exact same reverence and professional courtesy that you would treat a high-stakes meeting with someone important.
Right.
Think about it. If you were sitting in a one-on-one performance review with your CEO, you wouldn't just pull out your phone to scroll through Instagram.
Yeah.
You wouldn't let a random coworker barge into the room and start chatting about their weekend. You would protect that space fiercely. You need to extend that exact same respect to yourself.
To your own time.
When your deep work block begins, close the irrelevant browser tabs, put the phone in another room or in a drawer, and actively decline encroaching meetings. Your time block is a non-negotiable contract with your future self.
That concept of a personal contract leads us perfectly into the more advanced systems detailed in the research.
The high-level stuff.
Because once you have mastered the basics of blocking, boxing, buffering, and batching, how do you elevate this framework to support truly high-level, visionary cognitive work?
Good question.
One of the strategy playbooks introduces an elegant, tiered framework designed to prevent professionals from falling into the insidious trap of busy work time blocking.
Oh, what is busy work time blocking?
It's where your calendar is perfectly color-coded, you feel incredibly busy, but you're actually only accomplishing trivial, low-leverage tasks.
Moving paper around.
Exactly. This advanced framework is called the three-level block structure.
Let's really break that down, because I think this is where the system graduates from just time management to actual life design.
It adds incredible depth.
It shifts the focus from just what you're doing to why you are doing it.
Exactly. Level 1 is the weekly intent.
Weekly intent?
Before the week even starts, maybe on a Sunday evening, you zoom way out and ask yourself, what actually matters this week?
If I can only accomplish one major objective by Friday at 5 p.m., what is the big needle mover?
Right. Then level 2 zooms in to the daily wins.
Daily wins.
Every morning, you look at that weekly intent and ask, what 1 to 3 specific things absolutely must move forward today to serve that overarching weekly goal?
Connecting the day to the week.
And finally, level 3 is the block mission itself. This is the micro level.
The actual execution.
You ask, what does success look like in this specific 90-minute window I am about to start?
What this tiered approach creates is a chain of absolute alignment.
Simple line.
Your random 90-minute work block on a Tuesday afternoon isn't isolated. It is directly, logically tethered to your daily win.
Which is, in turn, directly tethered to your overarching weekly intent.
This structural integrity ensures that your cognitive focus remains locked onto high-leverage activities, rather than just reacting to whatever loud, urgent-seeming email happens to be sitting at the top of your inbox.
But to execute this three-level structure effectively, you cannot rely on willpower in the moment.
Willpower always fails.
You need to establish rituals. And the most crucial ritual highlighted across our sources is the night before pre-plan.
Yes. The models and the expert articles both strongly advocate for this, and it seems like such a small tweak, but the downstream impact is massive.
Huge impact.
They suggest taking just 10 to 15 minutes each evening, right at the end of your day, to assign your level 2 and level 3 tasks to the empty calendar blocks for the next day.
So when you shut your laptop at night, tomorrow is already fully architected. The psychology driving the night before pre-plan is all about the conservation of energy and offloading decision fatigue.
Conserving that battery.
Think about your cognitive battery. When you wake up in the morning after a good night's sleep, that battery is fully charged. Your willpower and executive function are at their peak.
Prime time.
If you spend the first hour of your prime morning energy staring at a blank calendar and a massive, chaotic to-do list, trying to negotiate with yourself about what you should tackle first,
you are draining your most valuable peak energy on meta work.
You are burning fuel just figuring out how to drive the car.
Such a waste.
By pre-planning the night before, you wake up with absolute frictionless clarity.
The difficult decisions have already been made by your past self.
You simply wake up and execute the plan, which drastically reduces morning overthinking and virtually eliminates initiation procrastination.
It's a gift you give to your morning self.
Truly.
But that evening ritual actually starts a bit earlier than that, right at the literal end of the workday. And I have to say, this might be my absolute favorite concept from this entire deep dive because it addresses a pain point I have struggled with for years.
It's a very common pain point.
The expert articles introduce a fascinating psychological phenomenon called the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
If you are listening to this, I guarantee you have experienced this. Have you ever been lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, completely physically exhausted, but your brain just will not shut up?
Mind racing.
It keeps looping over and over, reminding you about the email you didn't send to the client, or the slide deck you left half finished, or the conversation you need to have with a direct report tomorrow.
That relentless, nagging mental tension of unfinished tasks is the Zeigarnik effect in action.
It is the root cause of what the sources call calendar guilt.
And it actively prevents your nervous system from resting.
It's awful.
It is a profound neurocognitive quirk. The human brain is evolutionarily wired to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks significantly better than completed ones.
Why is it wired like that?
In a primitive survival context, remembering an open loop like, I haven't secured the perimeter of the camp, keeps you alive.
Okay, that makes sense.
But in the modern, endless knowledge work environment, where there are always 100 open loops, it is a recipe for chronic insomnia and severe burnout. Your brain never feels safe enough to power down.
So what's the cure?
The cure for the Zeigarnik effect, according to the research, is a highly specific protocol called the shutdown ritual.
Okay, here is exactly how you execute the shutdown ritual. You take the final 15 minutes of your workday, and you actually need to block this time out on your calendar as a recurring daily event so you don't skip it, and you ruthlessly review your progress.
You look at what you successfully accomplished and check it off.
But more importantly, you confront what you didn't accomplish.
Right.
If a task was left undone or a block got blown up by an emergency, you don't just leave that task sitting there in the past on your calendar.
And you definitely don't just delete it out of shame.
You consciously, physically move that block to a specific future date and time on your calendar.
This physical action is what explicitly closes the open loops in your neural pathways.
Moving it closes the loop.
By consciously rescheduling the uncompleted task, you are sending a definitive signal to your brain. I've acknowledged this open loop, and I have a reliable, documented plan to handle it later.
And that works.
This provides genuine neurochemical cognitive closure. The profound result of a consistent shutdown ritual is that when you physically leave your desk or close your home office door, your mind actually follows you.
That sounds amazing.
You aren't dragging your ambient work stress into your living room, your family time, or your sleep cycle, which is absolutely essential for the deep recovery of your cognitive resources.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
It's a lot to process.
If you are absorbing all of this right now, your head is probably spinning. We've thrown a lot at you. We're talking about biological prime times, 1.5x planning multipliers, Parkinson's law, 3-level block structures, chaos buffers, and Zeigarnik's shutdown rituals.
It's a completely new paradigm.
It can feel incredibly overwhelming to look at your current messy, reactive life and try to implement a massive, pristine, new cognitive architecture all at once.
Don't do it.
One of the playbooks we analyze is very empathetic here and offers a stark warning. Do not try to change everything tomorrow. It literally says, start small.
This raises a vital question regarding the psychology of implementation.
What happens if they try to do it all at once?
If you listen to this deep dives, get highly motivated, and try to completely color code and rigidly time block your entire 12-hour day starting tomorrow morning, the statistical probability is that you will fail by 10:30 a.m.
Just shatter immediately.
An unexpected emergency will occur, your brittle schedule will shatter, you will become deeply discouraged, and you will abandon the entire system, reverting back to the Tetris effect.
The universal recommendation across the literature is to start by identifying just 2 or 3 key blocks for your day.
Or, even better, attempt to block just one single day of the week.
Like the day theming we talked about.
Perhaps design a Deep Work Wednesday and leave the rest of the week alone for now. Let the neural pathways and the habits solidify. The system is meant to be iterative, not instant.
Iterative.
That is where the concept of the weekly review becomes critical. Every Friday afternoon, you sit down and look back at your calendar objectively. You ask yourself the hard questions.
What kind of questions?
What blocks got consistently pushed? What tasks continuously took longer than I estimated? Where did I lack sufficient buffer time to handle office chaos?
Exactly, it's a muscle. I think people view productivity systems as software you just install and run flawlessly.
It's not software.
It's not. It's physical training. You don't walk into a gym having never lifted weights and try to deadlift 400 pounds on day 1.
You will break your back.
You have to build the capacity over time. The weekly review is how you calibrate the weights.
Beautiful analogy.
But as you build this time-blocking muscle, the advanced sources warn us about some very specific, subtle failure modes.
These are dangerous.
These are the common pitfalls that high achievers fall into when they get a little too obsessed with the system. The first major pitfall is called microfragmentation.
Microfragmentation occurs when an individual takes the fundamental concept of time blocking to an absurd, hyper-obsessive extreme.
Getting too granular.
They try to map out and control every single 5-minute increment of their waking day. You look at their calendar, and it has 50 tiny, sliver-like blocks.
Oh, man. 8 to 8:05, drink water. 8:05 to 8:12, read industry news.
Exactly. This is wildly counterproductive. It creates a frantic, suffocating schedule that requires more cognitive load to manage than the actual work itself.
It sounds exhausting.
It offers zero flexibility and guarantees failure. The best practice, established by the research, is to use fewer, much larger thematic blocks.
So what does a good, resilient schedule look like?
A highly resilient daily architecture might look as simple as 2 90-minute blocks for intense deep work, one 60-minute block for grouped administrative tasks and emails, and a couple of generous buffer blocks scattered throughout the day to absorb friction.
That sounds so much more breathable.
It's sustainable.
And the second major pitfall, which I think is so incredibly relatable for the type of driven person listening to this, is overscheduling leisure.
Oh, this is a big one.
When high achievers discover the power of time blocking, they sometimes get a little too enthusiastic. They see the productivity gains at work, and they decide to apply it to their weekend.
They start blocking out their relaxation with aggressive precision.
You see calendars that say, from 7 to 7:45 p.m., I will engage in high-quality family bonding, and from 7:45 to 8:30 p.m., I will execute my philosophy reading, followed by exactly 20 minutes of designated mindfulness.
The sources explicitly warn against this behavior.
It defeats the purpose.
If you rigidly schedule your unstructured free time, it quickly stops feeling like rejuvenating rest and starts feeling like just another high-pressure task you have to execute perfectly.
You absolutely must leave open, unstructured space in your life for spontaneity and true decompression.
It is entirely about maintaining a sustainable equilibrium between rigid, protected structure for your professional output and fluid, unconstrained space for your neurological recovery.
So to manage this balance visually and practically, the physical tools you use become important.
Very important.
While the psychological concepts we've discussed are theoretical, the daily application has to be highly tactical and frictionless.
Let's run through the actual toolkit the sources recommend so you can put this into practice immediately.
Perfect. For time blocking, your digital calendar is your foundation. Google Calendar, Outlook, Apple Calendar, whatever you use. The absolute key here is color coding.
Visual cues matter immensely to the brain.
You might make your deep work blocks a deep, calming blue. Your personal or transition time might be a vibrant green, and your outward-facing meetings might be a stark red.
And why does that matter?
The beauty of this is that when you glance at your week from a high level, the colors immediately tell a story. You can instantly see if your life is in balance or if your entire week is bleeding red with external meetings, meaning you have no time for actual work.
It's an instant diagnostic tool.
And for time boxing, where the hard stop is the entire point of the exercise, you need external enforcement. You cannot rely on just watching the clock.
You need an alarm.
Apps like Toggle or Clockify are great, or even a simple physical Pomodoro timer sitting on your desk. For those who haven't used it, the classic Pomodoro technique is a form of time boxing, usually 25 minutes of pure, unbroken focus, followed by a mandatory 5-minute break.
The specific time matters less than the physical act of starting a timer.
It fundamentally changes your brain's relationship to the task. It signals that the game has started.
Those physical and digital tools are what bridge the gap, helping transition these advanced cognitive theories into your daily reality. But as we synthesize the entirety of these playbooks, models, and articles, the most critical takeaway isn't about whether you use Google Calendar or Outlook, or whether your deep work block is colored blue or purple.
No, it's bigger than that.
It is about a fundamental shift in the philosophy of how you view your existence in time.
Yes, let's bring this all home.
Okay.
We started today by looking at the chaotic, highly reactive game of calendar Tetris, where you are just surviving the falling blocks. And we've walked through the advanced strategic steps to draft a calm, deliberate cognitive blueprint.
We learned how to guard our biological energy,
How to multiply our time estimates to defeat the planning fallacy.
how to radically batch to avoid the 23-minute focus leak,
And how to execute a shutdown ritual to conquer the Zeigarnik effect and leave work at work.
And there is a profound peer insight pulled directly from the Beyond the Tetris Effect text that perfectly captures the absolute essence of this entire deep dive.
I know the exact quote you're talking about.
That specific insight states, and I quote, "Time blocking is not about productivity. It's about reducing decision fatigue, protecting attention, and making thinking deliberate. Used correctly, it becomes a character-building system."
A character-building system. I
Yeah.
find that framing incredibly powerful.
We so often view structure, especially scheduling, as a prison sentence, something that restricts our freedom or stifles our creativity.
But the reality is that a well-designed cognitive architecture actually creates freedom.
Yes.
By offloading the constant low-level ambient stress of deciding what you should be doing next, you free up massive amounts of cognitive resources to actually do the deep, meaningful work that matters.
Structure creates freedom.
Structure creates freedom. That really is the golden rule of this entire framework. But before we let you go, I want to pivot just a little bit and leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Something beyond the sources.
Exactly. Something that isn't explicitly detailed in the sources, but represents the logical, extreme conclusion of everything we've discussed today regarding the power of time boxing.
What's the thought?
If strict time boxing is so incredibly effective at forcing decisiveness, destroying perfectionism, and entirely eliminating Parkinson's law, the reality that work will always expand to fill the arbitrary time we give it. What happens if society finally stops pretending?
Stops pretending about what?
What happens if entire companies or even entire industries abandon the archaic concept of the standard 9-to-5 workday?
Wow. Okay.
Imagine a near future where employers don't track your working hours or your seat time at all. No more mandatory 40-hour work week just for the sake of optics.
Just tracking the output.
Instead, they only track the successful completion of highly specific asynchronous time boxes. If we are truly focused, if we eliminate the focus leaks and the context switching, could the grueling 40-hour week eventually be entirely replaced by a 15-hour box week of pure, unadulterated, distraction-free, deep work?
A 15-hour week.
Do we really need to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day if we can accomplish the strategic outcome in 3 hours of boxed focus?
It's a fascinating question.
It's something to seriously think about the next time you're trapped sitting in a 3 p.m. Tuesday meeting that definitely, absolutely should have been an email.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Our final challenge to you: don't try to change your whole life tonight.
Start small.
Just open your calendar for tomorrow. Find one single block of time. Reclaim it. Give it a highly specific, outcome-based mission. Protect it with a chaos buffer, and treat it as an unbreakable contract with your future self. We'll see you next time.